So you want to make a game, but you gotta do everything yourself. Where do you even start? Well, there's programming, game testing, bug fixing,
Character design,
enemy AI logic, UI,
selling
animation,
your
rigging,
soul,
and so many more. Let's start off with something simple. Let's make an enemy for your game. For that, there are 4 steps to making a character. We got ideas and concepts, programming, modeling and animation, and then debugging and testing your program. For this project, I mainly used Blender and Unity 6, as well as Mixamo, which is the free rigging and animation tool. First thing I did was create a flowchart, which showcased all the logic I wanted to implement into my code. In Unity, I then added a capsule into my scene, and then started programming. The idea for my robot is that he's going to approach the player while in the dark, and whenever you shine the light on him, he will back away. Once that was done, I started sketching out a design on paper as to how my robot would look. I went over a couple different iterations, different face designs, side designs, and then once I did that, I made an even bigger version of what I wanted to make before starting my Blender project. Started with the top half, mainly laying out basic details as I went along, but planning on adding all the extra details later on. As an expert on Blender with 0 experience, I started modeling for the first time, mainly did a bunch of extruding, and more extruding. That's all you really do. You just extrude and change the shape and move things around. That's it. That's how I made this entire model. 3D modeling was by far the most time-consuming part in this entire project. It took over 6 hours just to make this hunk of trash. Bro, it sucked. Next up was creating a UV map, which is very simple. It's just pressing 1 or 2 buttons, and that was it. UV mapping, what it does is it lays out your 3D model onto a 2D plane, which allows you to easily texture it. So that's what I did. Since he's a construction-like robot, I never mentioned that. I painted him yellow and then started adding some black outlines and things to him. I made his eyes red, and I added a couple more details. Next up on the list was to rig and animate. Since this guy is a test character and he won't be the final model for my game, I decided to just use Mixamo. Mixamo allows you to auto-rig characters, and that's what it did. It set up a pretty simple humanoid rig, and I was able to get an animation. Just to double check, I went into Blender to see if the model had bones, and as you can see, it does. So I then imported it into Unity. So the next thing I did was I went ahead and dragged him over to where my capsule was and added my script onto my character. Once on my character, I then filled in all the little empty spots with things that I already had made, and I started testing him out. And as you can see, he was following with my capsule. So he was a little too high, so I moved the start and end nodes down. As you can see, he is now moving around inside of the scene, but he is not animated, so let's do that. I then added an animator to my object and attached 2 states to it, an idle state, where it's when it's not moving, and a walk backward state. I don't need a forward state because the character is constantly in the dark whenever it is moving forward. Then I started playing around with the transitions in between. Then I added a bool and attached it to my transitions so that way the game would know which state to switch between. I then went into my code, made sure the code recognized that I had an animator, and added the animation states to each part of my character's movement. With all this done, I did some final tweaking and testing, and it's time to see the final result. I'd say it's not perfect, but it's pretty good for my first time doing this. Those are all the steps that I did in order to get this all set up and working. If you enjoyed the video, watch some more. I'll see you guys later.